back and let us take you on a journey to victory.
Come on, y'all, let's take a ride. You ain't gotta say a word, just slide inside. It's time to take your ass on another kind of trip, cause you ain't at the top if you don't got the shit. Grab some chips and a drink to sip and close your eyes and hit that switch. We're going to a place where everybody kick it, kick it, kick it. Yeah, Blitzalytics. Ain't no friends and there ain't no simping, cause there ain't no team about to catch me tripping. Do you gotta get a stack or a third tier back? We got you covered all season to the ship from the draft. Take you to a place where you get that win, give you more than enough to defeat your friends. And if you can't take the heat, get your ass out the kitchen. We on a mission. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, slippity slide. When it's all up on the line, we can ease your mind. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, who ride? If you want to get the dub, you gotta tune in live.
You are now watching Fantasy Voyage, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here are your hosts, Cody Manning and RobROb.
Good morning and welcome into Fantasy Voyage. As always, I'm your host, RobROb. It's using my government name there on the Chiron, though. So you see my boy Cody over there on this side of the screen. How you doing this morning, Cody?
Man, I'm doing great. Football's here. Probably in the slowest days of the week during the fall. It's Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but I'm already ready for a Thursday. Yeah, I am ready for a Thursday night game and ready to kick off week 2 of the NFL season.
Man, I am too. It was an awesome week 1. We'll get right into it. Give you a quick rundown. We're going to hit you with some news, some injuries, some studs, duds, sits, starts, trade targets, streaming defense, stardom, sit-ems. Boy, we got it all for you today. And if you listened to us last week, you were successful. I think we only missed on 1 or 2 things, and they weren't even big misses. Steph Diggs still had a game. It just wasn't top 10. Jarwin got hurt, unfortunately, which we counted as a miss. We do that here. Even things we can't control, we're going to count as a miss. And we still hit on over 85% of our news for you. So let's get into it. Speaking of news here, and we won't spend a whole long time on it, but Allen Robinson, obviously upset over his contract, removed all Bears stuff on his social media. The agents denied a trade request, but it has been reported. Obviously, we talked about this last night on the happy hour, where he could go and things like that. There were a couple of nice spots that he could land, but with him saying that it's not a trade request, should fantasy football owners be concerned or any more concerned for Allen Robinson than saying Mitch Trubisky's his quarterback?
Yeah, as a fantasy football owner, if Allen Robinson would be traded, I would be kind of intrigued by that because there are some landing spots like we talked about. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I don't have the cap numbers in front of me to try to look at that aspect. From a fantasy owner aspect, I'm thinking like, oh, please trade him to the 49ers. Even though I crapped on Jimmy G last night, you already know Kyle Shanahan would feature him and he would get plenty of targets. One concern would be like if you would get traded. I saw this got mentioned last night to the Jets. Because they need wide receivers and they have some cap space, but then you're like, it's the Jets and Adam Gase. So then I would probably be like, no, stay in Chicago because you're at least going to get targets and have a potential, and you're not going to have the Adam Gase effect. But I do think
a stunning 1-2-3 for Robinson that would be, right? To go from Bortles to Trubisky to Darnold.
Yeah, I think he ends up staying in Chicago. Maybe he has to play out the contract. So, but you do wonder, from a football aspect, with all the players going online on Twitter last night saying extend AR, if the team's going to feel pressured to, because you're already messing with a locker room chemistry at week 1, which maybe it
feels like it's already on shaky ground anyway, right? Like it doesn't feel like it's just bound to fall over like a house of cards. But we'll keep you updated. Again, 99% of the teams he could get traded to would just be a benefit to you anyway. So cross your fingers that he does, and it's not the Jets suck. We'll move into the injuries. Had a huge one this week. Had a couple of other mid-tier guys go out. The big one is Michael Thomas, high ankle injury, expected to miss several weeks. Again, this guy's a gamer, so if he can play, he will. But This one scares me, right? These little ankles and toes and things that seem to linger. Slant route monster might be taken down a peg or two this year. So Michael Thomas, high ankle injury. James Conner ankle could play this week. I don't think he will. I think Benny Snell gets the run. Le'Veon Bell and Denzel Mims both have hamstring issues, placed on IR, which now is out 3 weeks, not a season. So don't let the IR just completely scare you away. Philip Lindsay, turf toe again, something that seems to linger is turf toe optimism. He's not going to miss long. Status in doubt this week. Marlon Mack, torn Achilles, done for the season. That one stings. Devontae Parker, hamstring. Really no news. Brian Flores says it's too early to tell. Blake Jarwin tore an ACL. He's done for the season. And Duke Johnson sprained an ankle. And I love the parenthetically here, Cody put long shot to play this week. Of those names, obviously, Michael Thomas is the headliner here. James Conner went high in your draft as well. Which of these are you most scared about for like fantasy purposes? Like I said, the ankles and the toes seem to linger on through the year. So any fear that these guys may be, I guess, tainted product at this point?
Yeah, obviously Michael Thomas is a major concern. You're talking about a guy that some guys probably took him in top 5, if not top 6 in the draft. So you're expecting a crucial part of your lineup, a guy that you're going to count in and week out. Who knows what several weeks is? Like Michael Thomas, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to push and get on the field sooner than later. I've seen people talk about this type of injury that he might have. I know it's kind of speculation at this point when they say high ankle sprain, that he could miss like 6 to 8 weeks. So that's like half the fantasy season he could potentially miss. So that's the worry too, how long he'll be out. As of right now, if you're looking to replace him, I mean, I would definitely go grab Emmanuel Sanders. As of right now, he's probably the best bet to perform. I would watch out to see if a Traquan Smith can maybe step up while he's out. And then Jared Cook, if you're an owner of him or if you're looking to stream tight ends, he should see an uptick in targets. But that one hurts. If you're a James Conner, like I know I did, we've been advertising all summer long not to draft him for this reason. If you're a James Conner owner, you got to be scared. Benny Snell went over 100 yards in his absence last week. Even if he tries to play, I think at this point now, Benny Snell has carved himself out some more touches, at least out of the backfield when both play. So as a James Conner owner, you probably just spent a second or third round draft pick on him, and he might already be in a running back by committee.
Yeah, Snell looked good. Snell looked damn good. And again, the contract status is going to come into play here. They need to know if they can count on Snell moving forward. I think he gets the run. Scary proposition for those of you who drafted James Conner. So obviously, with any injury, we wish him speedy recoveries. Always hate to see it. Part of the game. It's probably my least favorite part of the game. So good luck, everybody, in your recovery time. Let's move on into studs and duds, right? So let's talk about some guys who performed well and some guys who pulled an OBJ and shit the bed. Let's go ahead and start. We're going to do like we do every week. We'll do stud and dud quarterback you, stud and dud quarterback me, and then rotate through the positions. So whenever you're ready, hit them with your stud and dud QBs this week.
Well, I had to go into my boy who I said to start last week, which is Josh Allen. He was the number 3 quarterback on the week. He was 33 of 46. He had his first career game with 300 passing yards, with 312 to be exact, 2 touchdowns, and they're not holding him back. They're still going to let him run the ball like they did last year. He had 14 rushes for 57 yards, a touchdown. Now, he did have those 2 fumbles, but that's the Josh Allen experience. You're probably going to have to – yeah, you're probably going to have to understand he's going to turn the ball over at maybe 1 to 2 times a game. But the great thing about Josh Allen is he's always going to have the ball in his hand. He's always going to have a high floor because of his legs. And he has a potential to have a week like this where he finishes with 28.18 points. And then my dud of the week is Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was a guy I had some high expectations for this year. Now, I also didn't count that his 3/5 of his offensive line was going to be missing for week 1 against a very talented Washington defensive front. But I still played him in one of my leagues because I was like, well, it's Carson Wentz. I'm a believer in his talent, and he still has plenty of weapons to at least spread the ball. around to. And he started off great, but he ended really bad. He was a number 26 quarterback on the week, 270 yards. He was only 24 of 42 attempts, 2 touchdowns, but he had 2 interceptions, and he also had a fumble. So 3 turnovers hurt his day. He only had 13 points on the week.
Yeah, again, if fantasy ended in the first quarter, you'd have been happy with him. Unfortunately, it doesn't, and it just got worse from there. So I did the same thing with my stud quarterback. I went back to last week and picked the guy I told you to play. Big Ben looked good, finishing the top 10. Number 9 overall, 21 of 32, 229, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He even got a little run in, 3 rushes for 9 yards, so had more rushing yards than Saquon Barkley. 22.06 points on the week. Again, Ben looked good. This could have had more scoring for him, and I think you'll see more going forward. I told you 4 or 5 touchdowns. It ended up being 3. I guess I'll take that on the week, but Big Ben looked good. The relationship with Juju looked good. Pittsburgh feels like it's back, and I'm back on board. Big Ben moving forward. The dud QB for me, Drew Brees, finished number 23 quarterback overall, 18 of 30, 160, and 2 touchdowns, 14.4 points. So not a weak killer, I guess. But again, I wanted to address this one because, like Cody, I'm not sure who the guy is moving forward, or if maybe we transition into more of a running game here, get a little Lat Murray involved a little bit more, dump offs to Kamara, middle stuff to Cook. I just don't think, without Michael Thomas being there, that he's as electric and you can count on as many points from Drew Brees moving forward. So I start to fade him, actually, until MT does come back. So Big Ben, my stud. Drew Brees, my dud. And whenever you're ready, we can hit him with them running backs, my boy.
Yeah, so my stud of the week for the running back position, Raheem Mostert. He's a dude that, I had my worries and concerns over, that he was going to be in a running back by committee type of situation. Then he was going a little too high in drafts this past summer, and then his ADP fell a little as we got to the season. So, I was not going to probably draft him, I thought, this whole summer, and then he ended up falling to me at great value in the 5th or 6th round, and then he's immediately paying off and going to the value that people thought he was going to be at the beginning of summer. Number 6 running back on the week, 15 rushes for 56 yards. He had 4 receptions for 95 yards and a touchdown on 5 total targets, 25.1 points in the matchup. I think that just signaled that he's going to be the lead back for now, and it's probably going to have to be either a injury or a complete drop off in his play for him not to get the majority of the touches out of that backfield. My dud of the week, this one hurts because you know me, Rob. I'm a Joe Mixon stan.
Believer,
I still believe.
You are.
I'm still gonna believe in it after this, but he's getting me worried that he might end up being more of a flex play. But you gotta at least take a positive out of this as a Mixon owner, that the amount of touches he did get. Just to go into it, Joe Mixon was a number 49 running back this week, so he probably hurt most people. Luckily, the league I do own him in, I had the rest of the roster blew up for me. But here's the thing: he still had 19 rushes for 69 yards, so he still had the rushing attempts. It's just that Bengals line still needs a lot of work. But this is where I was kind of surprised by, is he only had 1 reception for 2 yards, only on 2 targets. I expected him to be more involved in the passing game, so that's something I need to monitor as a Mixon owner going forward, is he's going to get more targets out of the backfield. He also had a fumble on the day, and he rarely fumbles, so he just had a very off week 1, but he finished with 6.1 points, so he's my dud running back for the week.
It kind of feels like we got spoiled, right? We were expecting a less than explosive week 1, and it turned out to be explosive. And so when you have guys that weren't like Joe Mixon, it just looks 10 times worse than it actually did.
Yes.
If I'd have said, no preseason, really no off-season workouts or anything to be had, and Joe Mixon comes in with 19 rushes, 69 yards, you're like, okay, the volume is there and we'll deal with everything else as it goes. But because we had such big performances, it looks even worse. But I'm with you. A little scary moving forward, but boy, they got a quarterback in Cincinnati finally, so
Right.
I think those numbers will bounce back. My stud running back on the week, I went Clyde Edwards-Helaire, number 11 running back on the week, 138 rushing yards, one of only three running backs to have over 100 rushing yards. He did get one rushing touchdown, finished with 19.8 points. Now, the thing I wanted to address here is owners of him really happy until you hit the goal line. Then we start getting a little scared, starting to sweat it out. But if he punches one of the, I think 300 opportunities he had at the goal line, he's RB6 on the week. If he punches in two, he's RB2 on the week. He will eventually learn to get those in. It's angles, right? When you get down to the end zone, it's finding that little crevice, that hole. And you see with the veterans that they do that. Clyde's going to learn that, and he's just only going to get better from here. I absolutely loved what I saw from him. My dud, a guy I told you was going to be a dud, Leonard Fournette. You guys went out there and drafted him as this value back in Jacksonville, and then he gets traded to Tampa Bay, and people freak out and lose their minds and go spend all their fab budget before the season. And you know what he did? Finished as running back 65 for you. 5 yards on 5 rushes, 1 reception for 14 yards on 1 target, a total of 2.9 points. I told you, it's just, that's going to be scary messing with him down there. So, unfortunately, if you have him on your roster, you're going to be playing this game a lot, I think, this year. So, stud running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then dud running back Leonard Fournette. And whenever you're prepared, we can hit you with those wide receivers, Cody.
Yeah, so my stud wide receiver, man, you already know where I'm going. I had to show love to the top dude on my year 3 article I wrote this summer. Calvin Ridley, number 2 wide receiver for the week. He had 9 receptions for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns on 12 total targets. So he's getting fed the rock. And he had 1 rush for -1 yard, but that shows that they're willing to get the ball in his hands. And he looked great on the field yesterday.
Yes, he did.
I actually rewatched that game really quick last night after we did the football happy hour because I didn't get around to it until then. And man, we talked about on the football happy hour about or Jack brought it up before we recorded. We were talking about superheroes. Who's that? And Jack brought up who's the most elusive guy in the NFL. Man, if he continues to play like he did yesterday, that dude was elusive in the open field against the Seahawks. So I can't wait to see where he goes going forward and see if he ends up outproducing as far as in fantasy Julio Jones, like I called earlier this summer. My dud of the week, though, is I'm not even going to say anything about what happened because I still feel like somebody's trying to get clout off
Your
his name.
favorite number 2 receiver.
Yeah. OBJ, man. He finished as the number 77 wide receiver on the week. He had 3 receptions for 22 yards on 10 targets. Man, I need to see the all 22, but because I got to that game very last because it was a blowout. But, he had a drop that hit him right in the hands. That's not like him. The offense was just off as a whole. Their whole offensive line got banged up, and they were already missing continuity throughout the training camp. So, I don't know, man. OBJ just hasn't been the same in a long time. I'm starting to worry about him as a player. But, yeah, he's my dud of the week. And if I'm an OBJ owner, I am definitely concerned going forward.
You got to be. You have to be. The Browns just didn't look like they came to play. It was the only blowout on the day. As bad as the Jets looked in Buffalo, and I still think they're the worst team, the Browns were the only team that got smoked this week. So not looking good going forward. For me, I did the stand-up thing here, guys. I got my ass handed to me by our boy Cody, and it was mostly thanks to Darius Slayton. So I'm going to give him his props. Number 5 wide receiver on the week, 6 catches, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he went ahead and added a 2-point conversion for good measure. 9 targets, 24.10 points. Sterling Shepard, who? This is Darius Slayton's squad. The kid is dating back, was it the last 5 weeks last year plus this? He's a wide receiver 1. This guy. Yeah, I think
Field Yates put it out yesterday. Since week 5, I want to say between week 5 to week 10 until through this last week's action, he has the most touchdowns in that time span.
It's insane. They got to find, if you had the cojones to snatch up Darius Slayton, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get these reward games. Now, he'll have some downers, but this one was way upper. My dud on the week is Mike Evans. And I know it's kind of injury, so it's kind of a bitch move that I'm going to talk shit on Mike Evans. But number 64 wide receiver, 1 catch, 2 yards, 1 touchdown on 4 targets for 7.2 points. The reason why I want to address this is because we get an early indication, kind of like we talked about earlier, with things that linger, right? I would rather my guy sit out when he's hurt than play and give me this crap, right? You knew he was hurt. If you watched the game, he was a decoy. You should have taken the news. For me, anytime a guy is a late game add-in, right, I'm usually looking to pivot off of him. If I'm waiting up until the last 10 seconds to set my lineup and they're like, oh, Mike Evans is going to start, I should have gone somewhere else. You should have gone somewhere else too, because this is how things like this happen. This guy was used strictly as a decoy. You're lucky he got a touchdown for you. Otherwise, it would have been completely shot. So this is why you have to keep up with the injury status all week. And if it changes at the last minute, just go with your gut. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be starting somebody else. So the stud wide receiver, Darius Slayton, I fucking hate you, sir. And my dud wide receiver, Mike Evans. So I get another little piece of humble pie here with your tight ends, right?
Yeah, and we're talking about our 16-team league in Blitz that I beat
16 team
Robin.
Guys. By the way, it's not like I lost in a 10
And by the way,
league.
since it's 16 team, I had Mike Evans against you. I wasn't going to play him, but then Brandon Ayuk was a late game scratch, so I was forced to put him
play
in.
Sure,
But luckily Slayton went off against the Steelers, and then this following guy helped me out get a win. And that's Noah Fant, number 3 tight end on the week. He had 5 receptions for 81 yards, a touchdown on 6 targets for 19.1 points. He looked great on Monday night against the Titans. I like that he got the 6 targets. Obviously, we need to see if he's going to get those targets when Cortland Sutton comes in, a KJ Hamler. But as Noah Fant is a late round steal that I kept on preaching all summer, so far in week 1, it's proven me right.
Definitely did this week. Fuck you, man.
Yeah. My dud tight end of the week, which cost me a money league that I'm very upset that I lost by less than a point, I believe, if I remember right. And this guy was on my roster, Evan Ingram, number 37 tight end on the week. He had 2 receptions for 9 yards on 7 targets. So him and Danny Dimes just cannot connect at all on a night that Danny, outside his interceptions, was connecting with the Slayton and was hitting passes all night. But him and Evan Ingram just couldn't get their chemistry going. So complete dud on 7 targets. That's not, you love the targets, you hate the production.
Yeah, Evan Ingram looking rough. I wish you'd have had him this week. I'd have won. I'll start off my stud tight end, Dallas Goedert. Cody especially, but I remember when we broke down each division, right, when we were still the fantasy football hot seat, and we were telling you, look, this is not a one tight end team. Dallas Goedert is going to get run. He's going to be fruitful in fantasy. Well, I'll be damned if he didn't finish as tight end 1 on the week. 8 receptions, 101 yards, a touchdown on 9 targets. So this is not fluky. The guy is going to get targets. I think they're going to move on from Zach Ertz personally. 24.10 points. Dallas had himself a game, and I think you can see this moving forward. Dud, I'm going back to last week. I told you do not start Austin Hooper. Hopefully you listened to me. Tight end 32, 2 receptions, 15 yards, 2 targets. 2 of them. 2, just 1 and 2. Done. He was in on 77% of the plays. So, again, this is some things I got to go back like you and watch the All-22 and just kind of figure out what happened in this game, like, all around. Right? I have no clue how we get to the point where you've got guys like OBJ targeted 10 times and you've got Hooper on 77% of the plays, only gets 2 targets. So I'm not sure what's happening or what to do moving forward. I'm not comfortable starting him as of right now. It'd have to be a damn juicy matchup, for me to stick Hooper in, and I'm not seeing it. So stud tight end Dallas Goedert, dud tight end Austin Hooper, and I'll tell you what, let's get into these waiver wire claims. We're going to hit you with Cody's waiver wires. I can't find there it is. There's the screen. Oh no, Cody, your head's cut off. That's not you, that's me. Let me go ahead and fix this.
I'll while you go ahead and fix that, Rob, I can go ahead and start talking about these waiver claims. Again, guys, How I do my waiver claims, if you missed last week, these are guys that are rostered on less than 50% of the rosters on Yahoo. And I know depending on your league, waiver claims either go through anywhere between like last night around midnight through this morning. I literally pulled this up around 10 a.m. to try to get as close to an accurate number for you as possible. And I do a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and then I do a flex position. My quarterback pickup of the week is the guy that lit up my Colts, Gardner Minshew. He had 173 yards and 3 touchdowns. He only missed one. He only had one incomplete pass. He's available in 75% of the leagues. Now, I'm going to let RobROb speak on this later. He does have some concern with his matchup this week. I think Gardner Minshew is just like, if you are questioning your current starter at the quarterback position, if he let you down last week, I think he might be worth a spot to add on the bench and see if last week wasn't a fluke.
Or another thing, Cody, not to interrupt here, but if you're one of those guys like me who's a trading guy, right? These are quarterbacks' names who, if you have a good named quarterback and you need to package a deal to upgrade your running back or something, this is where I keep up with your waiver wire targets as well, so that I know I can comfortably trade out my quarterback and try and upgrade at another position. So I actually use your waiver wire advice a lot, sir.
Yeah, and just to add on him too, like he's a very solid quarterback. I keep on saying this. I feel like he's a Ryan Fitzpatrick of this next generation, that he's going to be able to produce. He's going to be able to win games. We'll see if he can be a true franchise quarterback, but he has this season to prove that. And with that being said, I'm gonna get into the Jaguars defense when we get into our starts for the quarterback position later. But like, that Jaguars defense still has a lot of work to do. So I still think the Jaguars are going to be playing catch up ball. So there's a potential Gardner Minshew is just going to have a lot of opportunity to score points as a quarterback. My running back out of the week, I can't believe I don't know if Yahoo's numbers weren't updated after his performance. I don't know if it's just because the Colts lost to the Jaguars and people aren't looking into this as much, but Nyheim Hines, my boy from the Colts, he, according to Yahoo, at 10 a.m. this morning Eastern time, available in 81% of the leagues. He had 28 rushing yards and a touchdown, but like I was preaching all summer, where he was going to get his value is in PPR leagues. He had 8 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown on 8 total targets. He's going to be a PPR guy. He's now, with the injury to Marlon Mack, he had a solidified role before then. Now he's going to split reps with Jonathan Taylor. He's a flex at this point. So if he is available in your league, go get Nyheim Hines right now.
Even if you are the JT owner, again, we talked about this before. I think you play both of them, right? You start JT and then you start your boy Nyheim in the flex, and I'm comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely risky playing 2 running backs from the same team if they both let you down. But I definitely believe, because they targeted the running backs like some crazy percentage I can't think of off the top of my head compared to other NFL teams in week 1. And then my wide receiver ad, I'm going to point to a year 3 guy that was in my article, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, MVS up there with Green Bay. He had a great first showing with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he's going to be that number 2 wide receiver in that offense. He's available in 93% of the leagues. He had 4 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown on 6 total targets. I think he's definitely worth a bench ad right now before he potentially continues to produce this season. And then eventually, if he's going to continue to put up this type of production, I think he's going to end up being in that wide receiver 3 range, maybe could even work his way up to a wide receiver 2 with a slight uptick in his targets. My tight end waiver ad of the week is Logan Thomas from the Washington football team. Obviously, that's probably a name most people don't recognize unless you're like a scout or you're a, I guess, football team fan. That sounds weird to say still, but he's available in 99% of the leagues. He had 4 receptions for 37 yards and a touchdown. Now, this is why he's my ad of the week. He had 8 total targets for Washington this past Sunday. They only got Scary Terry McLaurin as a proven wide receiver in that Washington offense. Not Logan Thomas. Their offensive coordinator came from Carolina. We saw Greg Olsen be featured. So maybe the tight end position has a pretty significant role in this offense, and he can be the number 2 guy in targets. So if you're looking for a sneaky stream play Logan Thomas could be your guy, and they are going against the Cardinals, who were the worst team against tight ends last year. So there might be a sneaky stream play for you this week. My flex ad of the week, this should make you happy, Rob. Malcolm Brown. He was available in 75% of the leagues entering today. He had 18 rushes, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 3 receptions for 31 yards on 4 targets. He's a guy that you can already go ahead and pick up and slide in your flex position. I would have a concern that Cam Akers does eventually take over the role at some point this year. But if you pick him up off the waivers, play him while you got him, because I think he's going to be heavily featured for at least the next 3 to 4 weeks.
So again, Malcolm Brown, I want to get this in. Do not blow your fab budget on him. If you play fab, do not blow the budget. This is not a long-term ad. This is not a long-term solution for your running back position. It is a short-term boon. Cody's right. Eventually, this is going to be Cam Akers' job. But you go get him now and you roll him out until it becomes Cam Akers' job, because Malcolm's going to get that goal line work. But again, do not blow your fab on this man.
Yeah, so again, and I apologize if you hear this stupid construction I'm hearing outside my apartment right now. But again, my quarterback waiver claim, Gardner Minshew, my running back waiver claim, Naheem Hines, wide receiver, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, better known as MVS. Tight end is Logan Thomas, and my flex ad is Malcolm Brown.
And I'm going to throw one out there for you too. Laviska Shenault. If you're in a deep league and he's available, go get that guy. I think again he's going to get dual eligibility soon. He had rushes, he had receptions. He put up almost 12 points this week. Owned in less than 1% of leagues. It's insane. It's insane who you can grab. So let's go get into our trade targets really quickly, and I'll knock through these, and then we'll move on to start sit. So trade target number 1, we talked about him already, Joe Mixon. He's always going to have a bad week this week, dude. The Chargers are legitimate defense. They get things done. The loss of Derwin James did hurt, but there are pieces everywhere else up and down that defense. It was going to be a tough week with a brand new rookie quarterback. Not sure what everything is going to look like. I think he'll be okay moving forward. I think there will be times where you'll still be left scratching your head, like, what are we doing here, Mixon? What are we doing, Bengals? But I don't think you'll get him any cheaper than you can right now. Same thing's going to go with OBJ. Like Cody said, we're going to have to watch the All-22 to kind of figure out what happened, but the man had 10 targets, which is tied for 8th most among wide receivers, so it's not like the targets weren't there. He just didn't do anything with them. That paired with the news of the offseason, the letdown season last year, what you're really looking at with OBJ is, again, a buy low candidate. Don't get taxed. If you get taxed to move on, there's other better options. But you never know. See if you can't peel OBJ off of their owners' teams based on this absolute crap week. N'Keal Harry is number 3 for me, on field for 80% of plays for the Patriots. Edelman's always getting ticky-tack banged up, so he may miss a week here, may miss a week there, or at least be limited action up and down the season stretch. So the other thing I do want to point out is N'Keal looked good, specifically on one drive with Cam Newton that ended in a fumble out of the end zone. If that fumble turns into a touchdown, he's not wide receiver 67. He's wide receiver 28, and he only had 1 less target than Edelman. All that together says N'Keal Harry looks to me to be the wide receiver I want in New England. Again, I'm not paying very much for him, but I think that snap count especially tells you he's going to be there. He's got to work on that fumble problem. We know how Bill is. You fumble, you get punished. So we'll see how much punishment comes. But I'm snatching Harry if I can. Number 4, Tyler Boyd. This is more of a forming a relationship with Joe Burrow move. He didn't catch a pass in the first half. I think that was Burrow getting comfortable. The Bengals trying to see what game script was going to be. Again, he did get his catches midway through the third quarters when he really came on. Ended up with 5 targets, 4 catches, 33 yards, only 7.3 points. But the key here is that Cincinnati moved to get him the ball by getting the ball out of Burrow's hand faster. And I think that trend continues, and Tyler Boyd starting next week even, or this week even, starts to have a kick in the ass and starts to rise up your board. So get him now while he's cheap. Number 5, this one's going to be very hard because as the owner of this guy, I'm not coming off of him, but somebody might. Jonathan Taylor. Again, the odds are you're not going to get him. As a matter of fact, as a Jonathan Taylor owner, I have been offered multiple deals for Jonathan Taylor. And sorry, guys, I'm not coming off of him. I'm a big believer. But Nyheim Hines kind of did dominate the news with his 2 touchdowns and his electricity. So maybe there's an outside chance that you can convince the owner of Jonathan Taylor that it's Nyheim Hines' team and you might be able to get him again. Slim chance, but you got to go for broke here. You've got to go after JT. So again, the trade targets: Joe Mixon, OBJ, N'Keal Harry, Tyler Boyd, and Jonathan Taylor. Take low numbers, turn them into great value. That's how trading works in fantasy football. So let's go ahead then, Cody. We're going to go into our stardom sit-ems here, and I'm going to have you start with the quarterback position, brother.
Yeah, so I already kind of hinted to this. My start of the week is Ryan Tannehill against the Jaguars. Last week, I know everybody's pointing to my pathetic loss to the Jaguars by my Colts, but
it's not
at the
pathetic,
end of the day,
it's historical. It's just what they do,
yeah,
right?
right. Yeah, it is technically true. I brought that up last night on the happy hour. But yeah, and here's the thing, CJ Henderson had a great rookie performance, but the rest of that secondary is very questionable in Jacksonville. Keep in mind, the Colts lost that game without having to punt the ball. So the Jacksonville defense is still bad. Don't let the win get people confused. And Phillip Rivers, everybody's pointing to his dumb decisions, which they were dumb decisions, which led to picks. He still had 363 passing yards and a touchdown, and he was 78.3% completion percentage. So he was connecting on balls very easily on Sunday.
With numbers, how did they lose the game?
I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, so Ryan Tannehill against the Jaguars, I think he's a great streaming option. Jonnu Smith looked great Monday night. Corey Davis looks healthy and looks like he could potentially be the player that they thought.
All of a sudden, Corey Davis is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, they still got A.J. Brown was a little bit of a disappointment, but he just missed him for a touchdown in the corner of the end zone towards the end of the game. So I think the passing game against for the Titans is going to bounce back this week. So if you're looking to stream a quarterback, because I saw he was available in a majority of leagues, Ryan Tannehill is not a bad option this week. My sit of the week, it was my dud this week, Carson Wentz. I need to see how that offensive line is going to play until I can completely trust Carson Wentz as a fantasy quarterback right now. They're going against the Rams. Too many injuries against Aaron Donald. We saw what Aaron Donald did Sunday night against the Cowboys offensive line, just tossing people left and right. Yeah, so that scares me. Jalen Ramsey's still out there, and that secondary is not that bad from LA. So I would avoid playing Carson Wentz if you can this week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Aaron Donald is a man amongst boys, and he will eat against backup linemen. So, with you on that. My start of the week is going to be Dak Prescott versus the Falcons. Falcons couldn't stop anything last year. Nothing changed. You're going to be able to light the Falcons up. Quarterbacks and receivers, line them all up. When they're playing the Falcons, feel comfortable because it's about to be a game out there. Dak is going to feast against this Falcons roster. I'm sorry if you're a Falcons fan, but they're just going to get torched. They may win a game, but I swear to God, the Falcons are only winning games with 35 points. That's just how it's going to go for them. You're going to be able to toss the rock. This is where we have that issue that Cody talked about earlier. It was a waiver wire ad. I am nervous, a little bit nervous anyway, about Gardner Minshew. This is a road game. I know we don't have fans in the stands, but the travel and all of that. The Titans defense is legit, first off. They don't have the history they had against the Colts, which I didn't know. I wish I'd have known that. That's a funny stat Cody gave us. What is it, 7 straight opening game losses and 6 straight against the Jags?
The Colts have lost 7 straight season openers and 6 straight losses at Jacksonville.
Not overall to the Jags, but at Jacksonville. Again, so this is a little bit different here, and I like the Colts defense, but to me, what I saw this week out of the Titans, look, man, they got men. They got men on that line, and it's not going to be easy for Gardner. So, again, I do support the addition of waiver wire adding Gardner Minshew here, but maybe I don't push him out there, or I at least temper expectations with him this week. So, whenever you're ready, Release this sweet, sweet name for your running back, sir.
Yeah, my start of the week, man, Todd Gurley. Fire him up, man. I think he's about to have a great game against the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if the Falcons end up winning, but I think Todd Gurley is going to eventually put up potential old Todd Gurley numbers. Leighton Vander Esch is out. He's hurt. That Cowboys rush defense looked awful against your Rams last week. They allowed 153 total rushing yards. And I watched that Falcons Seahawks game, and Todd didn't look that bad. He was moving the ball, and they were giving him the rock. So I think there's a potential he could finish as a RB1 in that 1 to 10 range this week. I think Todd Gurley is going to have an impressive performance. That's my call of the week, I guess. My sit of the week though is Melvin Gordon against the Steelers. Dude, that Steelers defensive front is unreal. They completely bottled up Saquon Barkley. The only positive with Gordon going into this matchup is that if Phillip Lindsay is out, which it sounds like I think he's going to miss this week, is he's going to get the volume. That's the only positive. But look at Saquon. He got the volume, and if it wasn't for 2 screens that he broke off, his night was dreadful.
Yes,
so if you have any other options you can go with other than Gordon, I would do that because that Pittsburgh defense is for real.
Yes, it is, and I wasn't overly impressed with Gordon anyway to start off the season. So I'm with you. I'm starting just about anybody over Melvin Gordon this week. My starting running back, I'm going to give them both to you. Zach Moss, Devin Singletary. I think you run both Bills guys. Feel comfortable again. Maybe if I don't know why you would own both of these guys specifically, but I might not start both of them in one roster. But either or is a fine proposition for me. The Bills are playing Miami. The Dolphins, let's be honest, I think they kind of stink in the front seven. The Bills are going to want to run all over them between these two guys and Josh Allen. I think it's a big rushing day. You saw what the Patriots did on the ground last week. I think the Bills do even better this week. You saw Zach Moss specifically. Zach Moss specifically is the guy I want to talk about, but you can also do Devin Singletary. Zach Moss was missed on one egregious play from Josh Allen that I don't think he'll ever miss again this season. Just wide open. If Josh Allen turns his head to the left at all, Zach Moss walks in for his second touchdown. Kid looked really good, looked really electric. I like what I saw from him, and I think this week either running back could have a big game. Probably both of them could be fantasy viable. My sit, this one I just kind of reached for, right? Let's be honest, forgot to stick a name in here right before we went live and ran down the list and said to myself, boy, if I had Kenyon Drake, I'd be scared to start him against the Washington football team. Just what I said about the Dolphins stinking in the front seven. Well, Washington doesn't. Like, Washington has some monsters playing. Chase Young, man amongst boys. What a start he had to his career. So, again, I'm probably more so fading Kenyon Drake than absolutely must sit. There's not a lot of must sits to me this week out of who you pick. That's who I would have gone with. So, my start is the Buffalo backfield. My sit, or at least to temper expectations, is going to be Kenyon Drake. And whenever you're ready, hit him with these wide receivers, brother, because we are coming down on this Falcons defense.
Yeah, so I'm going with Michael Gallup against the Falcons. The Falcons gave up the 5th most passing yards last week. And one thing that pointed out to me with Michael Gallup outside, you already know, Rob, that he's a year 3 guy. Dak trusts him. For Dak to throw that ball in the final minutes, despite that offensive pass interference call, that shows that Dak trusts him. And I know it was offensive pass interference, but prior to that offensive pass interference, that route was so impressive for him to get the separation that he did. I don't think he really necessarily needed to push off like he did with the route that he ran. So I think Michael Gallup also, with the loss of Blake Jarwin, he's going to see an uptick in targets, at least this week. So I think this is a week you slide Michael Gallup in, and he offers such a high ceiling against that Atlanta defense. My sit of the week is Brandon Cooks against the Ravens. He played banged up last week, so I don't think he's 100% healthy. Plus, with the lack of offseason, I think that's kind of showing in the Texans' offense right now, or at least
got all the targets. It was Will Fuller, the guy he knew. I'm right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he just needs more time to develop chemistry with Watson, and plus they are going against the Ravens, so it's a pretty stout defense with a great set of cornerbacks in the secondary. So if I'm a Brandon Cooks owner, honestly, at this point, I'm leaving him on the bench until he shows me that he's made that connection with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and like you said, he's not healthy. I don't think this kid's been healthy in years. It's real hard to trust that. And like you said, playing the Ravens, get the hell out of here. That is a legit defense. My start, we're going to continue hating on the Falcons defense. I think you could roll CD Lamb out too, man. I think now here's the deal. I took the note here, right? What Cody said, exactly what Cody said, everything Cody said. But CD's going to have fewer receptions, but I think there'll be bigger plays, right? So I think CD may only have 3 or 4 catches on 5-6 targets, but that could be a Bill 10 and 2 touchdowns against this Falcons team who cannot play the position. They cannot hang with anybody on this Dallas Cowboys receiving corps. It's just not going to happen. CD Lamb could have a big day. Again, I think you temper your expectations on how many receptions, but if you're looking for a big play, I need a guy who's going to go out with a chance to grab me 2 TDs. I think CD Lamb is a perfect gamble for you there. And my sit is Sammy Watkins versus the Chargers. And all I got to say, you really going to let Sammy do it to y'all again? You really going to let him come in and bang out a nice week 1 performance and then ride his ass for the rest of the season with 0 touchdowns? Because that's what's going to happen. Exactly what happened last year is what I'm forecasting for this year. Cats had 5 touchdowns in week 1s and no touchdowns past that. I'm not doing it. I'm not playing the Sammy Watkins game. As a matter of fact, if I drafted Sammy Watkins, the first thing I'm doing is trying to move his ass out this week and try and get just about anybody to replace him. Do not get got by Sammy Watkins for a second year in a row. Please, 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 for the love of God. Let's move into the tight ends. And I went with your start here, and he kind of effed me in the A a little bit this week. So maybe you're right and we can get an uptick from him, huh?
Well, I just think I'm betting on the targets here. But, yeah, I'm going Chris Herndon against the 49ers. I think the 49ers are going to come out in this game pretty pissed off against a terrible team, and they're probably going to jump out to a big lead. So I think I'm expecting a pass-happy offense. And then also Le'Veon Bell is out. He was involved in that passing game before he got hurt and left the game against the Bills. So I think there's going to be an uptick on targets. He has 6 receptions for 37 yards on 7 targets. So he's getting it. I love any tight end that gets basically 7+ targets. I think it's a worth gamble. Yes. And then, I mean, he connected on the balls. If a touchdown would have happened, he would have had a better week last week. So I'm willing to stream Chris Herndon against the 49ers this week. My sit of the week.
Why didn't you sit him this week?
Well, because I'm in a 16-team league, and I'm going to have to play him this week too. Because there's no way I'm letting him go back on the waivers.
Oh man, 16 teams is crazy shit, boy. You guys got to try it.
Yeah. So I'm going. My sit of the week though is Noah Fant against the Steelers. If you're like in a 10 or 12-man league, I would look at different options. Like we've been harping on, that Steelers defense is legit. They gave fits to Evan Ingram, and him and Evan Ingram are kind of similar players. That athletic tight end that can line out wide and be a passing threat. So I just, that gives me bad worries about Noah Fant's matchup with the Steelers. So, if you can, I would maybe leave him on the bench this week and see maybe look at other options.
I feel skittish about anybody playing the Steelers right now. It's just, if I have anybody else at a position, I'm probably rolling him out. That continues for me for Fant as well. My start tight end, Dallas Goedert, man, fucking run it back. He was tight end 1 this week, and my Rams can't cover that position at all. He might have 200 yards. We don't cover the tight end position. It's just not what we do. Not much else to say past that, but go get Dallas Goedert and roll him out against the Rams because we are terrible against the tight end position. So Here's one that I was a little on the fence about, and if I'm wrong here, I want Cody to hit me over the head with some truth, knowledge, and bombs. Jonnu Smith is a sit for me this week. I know he had a good game, and a lot of people are looking for tight end, and that, sure, you might be able to add him, but the Jaguars are better than you think to me at linebacker and safety, and weaker out on the outside. So what that feels like to me is we're going to get a big, healthy dose of Derrick Henry. And I think this is A.J. Brown's week, right? Like I think he'll soak up a lot of targets. Corey's still going to get some. So I think the odd man out in a positive game script is Jonnu Smith. Again, this is just gut feeling. I know that the Jags aren't great on defense, like Cody said. They kind of just lucked into a win. I don't know what happened, but Jonnu feels like the guy that's left out in the cold for me. Am I wrong in assuming that game script? Because like I said, I think this is the week maybe we see A.J. Brown because they just can't cover him on the outside.
No, I definitely understand your where you're coming from on this sit with Jonnu Smith. Joe Schobert and Miles Jack are two good linebacker tandems to have in the NFL. And I mean, point back to last week, Phillip Rivers, he still had the 300 something passing yards, a 78.3% completion percentage, but Jack Doyle maybe had one or two catches if I remember right. So it's not like Jack Doyle had a great game.
Right.
It was spread the ball to the running backs. It was spread the ball to the receivers on the outside, to a Paris Campbell in the slot. So I mean, I could definitely see the concern with playing Jonnu Smith this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, I think he's a guy you can run out and get, right? Either trade for him or if he's on waivers, add him, and in other matchups, it's fine. And it's not like Jacksonville's good. It's just that's where they're best to me, it feels. So why fight against the team's best when the outside's just open? Let's get into the most important reason that we're here. The only reason people come watch this show for the last couple years is we're going to hit you with Cody's streaming defenses, which last week were spot on. I think the only one he missed on was Detroit, finished 22. The rest of them all finished top 12. As a matter of fact, 3 of the 5 finished in the top 10. So you're definitely going to want to pay attention here, Cody. Hit him with your streamable defenses, brother.
Yeah, and before I get into this, I do want to say, you're never going to hear me say the Pittsburgh Steelers because that's now a non-droppable defense. I'm going to start doing that throughout the season. Unless their play drops off, you may not want to play them against a offense if they face the Chiefs at some point. I don't really know if they're on the schedule or not, but that's for an example. They're now a defense you just leave on the bench and then maybe go pick up another streaming option. Number one for me this week it's pretty easy. 49ers versus the Jets. Now the 49ers might be a team that's heavily owned in some leagues, but maybe there are owners out there that are mad with the disappointment from going against the Cardinals last week. So if you go check the free agent market this week in your league and you see that somebody did drop the 49ers defense, go pick that up right now. That's probably the juiciest matchup you can get, an angry 49ers defense against a terrible Jets offense. My number 2 streaming defense of the week is the Buffalo Bills against the Dolphins. I just feel like the Bills continue to always be disrespected because they're up in Buffalo. So there's a potential in home leagues that Buffalo's defense is out there on the market. They're going against the Dolphins. The Dolphins might be missing Devontae Parker. We saw Ryan Fitzpatrick throw 3 interceptions last week, and the Bills have playmakers on all 3 levels of the defense. So that's just a high floor defense to me this week against Miami. My number 3, the LA Rams against the Eagles. Kind of talked about it earlier with the Carson Wentz sit of the week. The Eagles offensive line, I think I heard this morning that Lane Johnson should return, but they're still missing Brandon Brooks and Andre Dillard. I think Aaron Donald's going to eat up that offensive line. That leads to potential sacks. That leads to potential turnovers with guys like John Johnson and Jalen Ramsey in the secondary. So I think the Rams could be a sneaky streamable defense this week against the Eagles. Number 4 for me is the Cardinals versus the football team. The Cardinals are at home. I know Washington got the win, but I think Washington had the worst yards per play last week. I think they only averaged 3.7 yards per play. So I don't know if that Washington offense is that great. I think their defense led them to that win. this past week, and they're going against, like, I don't trust the Washington offensive line, so Chandler Jones could have some sack potential. And then there's always turnover potential with a guy like Patrick Peterson, Byron Murphy in the secondary, Buda Baker. We'll see if Isaiah Simmons can make his first rookie splash play against the football team. So I think Arizona could be a sneaky, streamable defense this week. And then number 5 is the Buccaneers versus the Panthers. I know a lot of people might kind of grow scared of that one because, Panthers, their offense, even though in a loss, they were able to put up points last week against the Raiders. And the Bucs are coming off what probably most people assume was a bad loss, but that was more pointed on their offense with the pick 6 opening up the score. That Bucs defense was flying all over the field with Levante David and Devin White. They held the Saints in that win to 4.1 yards per play. So that front 7 of the Tampa Bay defense is great. Their secondary is just fine. They still need some more time to come together. And I think there's a potential, they do have a history of bottling up Christian McCaffrey. So if that happens, that's going to lead to potential sacks. That's going to lead to potential turnovers. So the Bucs are my number 5 streamable defense. So again, my top 5 streamable defenses this week: 49ers against the Jets, Bills against the Dolphins, Rams against the Eagles, Cardinals against football team, and Bucs versus the Panthers.
Yeah, I am not mad at that. And again, man, people are crapping on Tom Brady, but let's be frank, I'm more worried about what I saw from the Saints than the Bucs this week. The Rams are going to eat, man. I'm with you. Aaron Donald has a big week. Doesn't look like we have any questions, but do want to give a shout out to Superfan Jay, who's been with us again this week. If you guys get a chance, go check out his Twitch channel. I watched him play a little PGA 2K21 last night. Made me get the itch for some golf action. But you know what? It has been an honor and a privilege serving here with you, Cody Manning, on this fantasy voyage. So before we get out of here, I'm going to turn it over to you. Let you plug what you want to plug, say your goodbyes, tell the people where they can follow you, man.
Yeah, so you can always follow me at Cody Talks NFL. That is my handle on Twitter. Hit me up if you have any fantasy questions. If you want to just talk football, don't be afraid to slide in my DMs. I can get back to you. And then always, guys, if you're a follower of Blitz, you're never going to stop hearing about the baby. The Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia. This thing is just great to have on. If you would have read my Nyheim Hines section, I would have told you that he's going to be Phillip Rivers' BFF. And there's just, we talked about it last night in the Football Happy Hour. So many names will continue to pop up on Sundays from that book. So if you want to go ahead and get it, guys, and support us, please go to blitzalytics.com/shop. This hard copy, this thick with 2 C's, as Rob likes to say,
yes, sir.
It's $35. You can get the full PDF for $15, or if you just kind of want to get a taste of it, you can get individual teams PDFs for $5, and it is supposed to become available also on Amazon, I believe, next week, right? Yeah. Barnes and Noble, and then I think it's on Target somehow, which is crazy.
I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, just buy it. That's all I got to say.
And Cody, maybe you can give them the date. I think it's still going on, right? If you buy the book or the PDF.
PDF, I forgot
to. On the jersey,
and we forgot to totally bring this up last night, I think.
We did.
But yeah,
we were having too much fun.
Yeah. Again, what we're doing is all sales of the book up until September 28th are going to be entered to win a Patrick Mahomes jersey. And that doesn't matter if you buy the physical copy, and that doesn't matter if you buy the PDF. Every purchase enters you into win a Patrick Mahomes jersey. And then, as far as other plugs, Football Happy Hour, guys, as we mentioned, it's a fun show between myself, RobROb, Jack Bourgeois, and Roy Countryman. We go live around 9 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday nights. We do talk about what's going on in football for the week, but we try to pick some fun topics for us to have a good time with. And then Mike's show, Cody Talks NFL. Look out for me to come online around the same time on Friday mornings. So make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you do know when I go live with that. My weekly Bucks articles are back on Saturdays that I talk about 5 things about their opponent for the upcoming week. And then I think that's plugged for everything. And then also, guys, if you are watching this now, but maybe next Wednesday you can't get to the live version, our audio is always on the Blitzlytics Podcast Network. So make sure you subscribe to us on all platforms.
We did get a late couple questions in here.
I've seen this come in.
Miles asked, should I drop Sony Michel for A.J. Brown, and should I keep Austin Hooper? I'll address the Hooper situation. You take Sony Michel for A.J. Brown, but I'm not sold on Hooper, Miles. I think he was a product of system in Atlanta. I wasn't super excited about the signing. I'm still not super excited about him being there. I'm still not sure what that offense really is going to look like. So I think you're going to be playing a 3, 4, 5 game stretch here before you really know what's going on. So if you have any kind of options, then I would go elsewhere. Trey S. in the chat says, I also have Hooper, can pick up Goddard. That's a no-brainer to me. You go do that right now. Miles asked about the Austin Hooper. Should he get Doyle? I would rather have Doyle than Hooper. Would you rather have Doyle than Hooper? I know I would. I would go Doyle than Hooper.
Yeah, I would definitely get those guys over that because I don't know if you can trust the Cleveland offense. The only bonus with Hooper right now is David Njoku did go on IR yesterday, but they still got that young rookie tight end as well out of FAU. So, I mean, yeah, Hooper's never been a sexy pick, and I would go with Goddard and Doyle over those both. And then honestly, like I don't even need to really address if AJ Brown's on the free agent market, like what are we doing in that league? What is that, an 8?
You got it.
Yeah, that's I'll drop Sony Michel all day, every day.
Yeah, the Patriots' backfield, like just historically, you don't know what to do with them. And if you already have 2 other players from the Colts, I mean, really to me that's only an issue come bye week. So you may want to diversify your portfolio by that point. But I don't know, man. I don't think I'm scared away from it. I think the Colts have a good offense, and I'm fine with it. We got a lot of questions coming in here at the end, folks. Trey S., thanks, guys. Should I drop Wentz for Big Ben? I don't know that I'd drop him. I would maybe, if I have an option, drop somebody else.
Yeah.
Hold on to Wentz, bench him, see what happens, stick through and see what happens with the O-line. But I think up until the O-line, we get answers on that. I think Big Ben is definitely a better play. But I cannot just openly drop Wentz. So if you have, if you're sitting there on 5 or 6 running backs or 5 or 6 wide receivers, I'd rather drop the low end of that. If you're sitting on multiple defenses, drop that second defense and just stream defenses. I don't know that I can advocate for a full drop of Wentz, but if that's your only option, I do think Big Ben is a better choice. So.
Yeah, definitely, and especially this week. I already said sit big Carson Wentz and Big Ben's going against the Broncos. Broncos just lost A.J. Bouye, their top cornerback, so they're going to be missing a key piece of that secondary this week as well.
Full PPR. Last question it looks like we got here. Full PPR flex position. Melvin Gordon or James White? I know you said earlier to sit Melvin Gordon, but now we're talking Melvin Gordon versus Patriots backfield, who, again, up in the air. I think I go James White.
I mean,
it's a full PPR. Full PPR, not half, not standard, full PPR.
I said sit Melvin Gordon, but personally I would play Melvin Gordon over him because Lindsey's probably out.
That's
He's going to be featured.
Let me tell you this, Trey. What I want you to do is I want you to tune in Friday morning, listen to what Cody says about this injury report, and let that be the ultimate deciding factor for you.
There
because
you go.
When we have more news, it's definitely if Lindsey's out, to me it's Gordon. If Lindsey's in, to me it's James White. So tune in Friday for Cody Talks NFL, and that goes for all you guys. I know CTNFL is not a fantasy show, if you will, but he gives you those up-to-date injury reports, which are definitely going to help set your fantasy lineup. So go ahead and check that back. And again, thank you for the subscription, Trey. Glad to have you as part of the Blitz family. If you guys are watching on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. Hit that little bell notification icon, because I think we've got like now 5 shows that go live throughout the week between this, Happy Hour, CTNFL. We do have the Steel City Sermon. I mean, we've got so much
Blitz
going
Breakdown.
on. Blitz Breakdown is now on, I think, moving to twice a week here soon. So go ahead and hit that bell notification and stay up to date as well. Did you tell them where they can follow you, Cody? I don't know.
Yeah, I got all my goodbyes.
Yeah,
so
all
you
those
just get your
questions flew
goodbyes
in
out,
at the end
play
there,
that
man.
beautiful
We love
song.
them. We love them,
I know.
guys. So,
hey,
you
that's
can
awesome.
follow
Let's
me
go.
at RobROb Graphics. If you have any questions before your fantasy week, go ahead and hit me up. My DMs are always open for you. That's at RobROb Graphics on Twitter. We thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to all of our subscribers. And again, Superfan Jay, what up, bro? That'll do it for us here on the Fantasy Voyage. Thank you so much for watching. We look forward to talking to you next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your captain speaking. You are now aboard the Fantasy Voyage Express. Time to pack your bags and let us take you on a journey to victory.
Come on, y'all, let's take a ride. You ain't gotta say a word, just slide inside. It's time to take your ass on another kind of trip, cause you ain't at the top if you don't got the shit. Grab some chips and a drink to sip and close your eyes and hit that switch. We're going to a place where everybody kick it, kick it, kick it. Yeah, Blitzalytics. Ain't no friends and there ain't no simping, cause there ain't no team about to catch me tripping. Do you gotta get a stack or a third tier back? We got you covered all season to the ship from the draft. Take you to a place where you get that win, give you more than enough to defeat your friends. And if you can't take the heat, get your ass out the kitchen. We on a mission. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, slippity slide. When it's all up on the line, we can ease your mind. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, who ride? If you wanna get the dub, you gotta tune in live.
You are now watching Fantasy Voyage, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here are your hosts, Cody Manning and Rob.